Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, Bapak Miftah, Bapak Edi, and also Mbak Nadia. Alright, this afternoon, inshallah, we are going to have this examination of Mbak Nadia, in which her title for her thesis examination is Racial Discrimination Against Pakistani Immigrants Characters, in Hanif Quraishi's The Black Album. Mbak Nadia, inshallah, later we are going to give you for about 10 minutes for presenting your thesis, and then later when you have already finished with your presentation, there will be question from Baiti as the main examiners in this thesis examination, and later it would be continued by I myself, Syamsudin, second examiner, and probably later your advisor, Pak Miftah, would be the third examiner that would give some questions, ask some questions, or give some suggestion to you, right? I think we would like to begin our examination today, especially examination for Mbak Nadia, by reciting Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alright, for the next, Mbak Nadia, it is your opportunity to present your presentation. We give you for about 10 minutes, and then after you finish your presentation, we would like to give for the examiners to ask some questions to you. This time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
In this opportunity, I will present the result of my thesis entitled Racial Discrimination Against Pakistani Immigrant Characters in Hanif Qureshi's The Black Album. And the background of the study focuses on the problems of the racial discrimination that frequently encountered by the immigrants that lived in the multiracial nation. And this research aimed to analyze the types of racial discrimination and also the impacts of racial discrimination towards the immigrants that felt by certain characters in the novel. The research question, the first is, what are the types of racial discrimination suffered by Pakistani immigrant characters in Hanif Qureshi's The Black Album? And the second is, what are the impacts of racial discrimination on the main characters' hybrid identities? And the overview of relevant theories is taken from the theory of Blank et al., Measuring Racial Discrimination, and the second is Hybrid Identity by Grady. For the research method is qualitative study, and the data resource is take from the Black Album novel. For the data collection, the first is quick reading from the novel and overview the novel theme and the intrinsic elements, and the second is read more carefully while highlighting informations about racial discrimination, and the next is reduce the information and focusing on the types of racial discrimination and impacts that depicted in the novel, and the last is classify the data and link into two major parts: the types of racial discrimination and the impacts of racial discrimination on hybrid identity development. For the data analysis is first pick the quotation and arrange it, and the second is critically explain the data types of racial discrimination from Blank et al.'s theory and Grady's hybrid identity theories. The third is concluded at linking the analysis with the problem of the study. And the types of racial discrimination that mentioned by Blank et al., it mentioned 4 types of racial discrimination, which is intentional, subtle, and statistical, and the last is organizational. But the types that depicted in the novel also found 3 types. The first one is intentional discrimination, and it has several forms. The first one is verbal antagonism, which is in any actions that include racial slur or taunts that expected to the outgroups or the minority, the member of minority groups, and it not depend the existence of the target, whether they are exist or not at that place. It experienced by Shahid at school and Tahira when she walked down in the sidewalk in the center of Britain society. The second is avoidance. This kind of discrimination happens when Shahid is in the center of the society and everyone around him looks like give a furious stare at him. And the third is segregation. And the segregation is the separation that brings gaps between this is the minority and this is the majority group, and it depicted in the event of the Pakistani family that has bad housing and low-paying job. And the last is physical attack. This kind of discrimination is refers to any actions towards the members of outgroups that give the negative impacts for them, such as the Shahid that attacked by his classmate at school, and he got the slashed by the knife at his back, and the Pakistani family that hurled and smashed for about 5 years. And Shahid and his companion also get physical attack when they are guarded the Pakistani family's flat. The second is subtle discrimination. This type of discrimination is more implicit than the previous one. This is include 3 manifestations in direct discrimination. The second is automatic discrimination, and the last is ambiguous discrimination. This discrimination is evidenced by the prejudice that arises in the society, and it expressed by a racist British woman who said that Pakistanis stole their houses, stole their job. Besides, they are very struggle to get the housing, to get a small flat or just a low-paying job. The third is statistical discrimination. This kind of discrimination is show the different attitudes toward the minority groups that based on the communal belief, and it happens to one of the character named Chad, and he got unjust evaluation based on the prevalent social stereotypes. The child was adopted by a white family, but he doesn't welcomed by neither the Britons nor the Pakistanis. And people around him make decisions and opinion based on the communal belief. Also, the impact of this racial discrimination is hybrid identity, and it based on the cultural background that happened in Britain as multiracial nation. It is the interaction between the outgroups culture and in-groups culture that likely to result in the formation of a hybrid identity. The character that mentioned in the story show the hybrid identity are Shahid, his father, and his brother. Shahid that already experienced racist, and when he went to the university, he found the environment that suit with him, and he find a lecturer that really intelligent and elegant, and he admire her, and also it brings Shahid to the moment that he like her, like that it never happened before, and it influenced by the environment and the situation and the friendship that happened in the background of British society. And his father, called Papa, he always refused to show and present his Pakistani identity, and always try to show that he is part of the British society. And the conclusion is there are several types of discrimination that happens in this novel, and it happens from the overt to the implicit one, and it brings the victims of the racial discrimination experience hybrid identity, because they are get the pressure and wants to have protection for their self, and that's why he comes to have this hybrid identity. And that's all for me. Thank you so much, and I beg your pardon if there are so many mistakes in this presentation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I thank you very much, Mbak Nadia, for your first presentation. For the next, we are going to see or to hear some questions that would be given by Pak Edi as the main examiners in your thesis examination. Well, for the next, I think I would like to give the opportunity for Pak Edi to ask some question or give some suggestion to Mbak Nadia. Pak Edi, time is yours.
Thank you, Pak Syamsudin, for the time. And Mbak Nadia, that's good presentation. And before we raise some questions, please tell us about the plot summary of the novel and the reason why you choose that novel as the object of this study.
Okay, the plot is first begin by explaining that Shahid is a born migrant that has several experience that happened since he was at school, and he was called by his classmate like Pakistan or any actions that give him some pressure to mix him uncomfortable at the school environment. And he also lived in a mansion house that take place in Kent, and his family is a very glamorous family that also do some tourism business, especially his father that do not want anything old-fashioned, and he also adopted so many representation of the British culture itself, until he went to the second-rate university that take place in London, and he also met some companions. It mentions in the novel that he met with Rayas, with Chad and Tahira, and anyone else, and he becomes close friends because they feel that they have the same experience as the born migrants that live in London, and they also experience so many racist attitudes towards them, even in the university environment or in the society. And also it brings the dilemma to Shahids that makes him confused and also cornered him when he very interested to Osgood, who is his lecturer, that he admired her, and he comes to the moments that he needed to choose, and he wants to be the Pakistani identity, or he just followed the Britain culture, such as attitudes is not familiar with the Pakistani culture. And why I choose this novel? Because I very interested in post-colonial theory before, and it has the background of post-colonial theory, and also the previous studies. There are no analyses that identify the types of racial discrimination in details. So by using this theory by Blank, it can identify so many racial discrimination that depicted in the Black Album.
Okay. But how many immigrant characters in the novel?
Can I count?
No,
Can I mention
maybe Pakistani immigrant
characters?
Immigrant characters means, are they the main characters? Pakistani immigrant characters?
No, not all of them.
I mean, the immigrant characters in the novel are the main characters of the story.
Yes, I mean the main character included in the
Okay.
Pakistani immigrant characters.
And there are also other immigrant characters from the other country in the story.
I think there are no
No. So,
another country.
so Pakistani immigrant characters are the only immigrant character in the story.
Yes,
Okay. So there are no other characters who come from different country
yes,
who becomes the main character or the characters in the story.
yes, there are no.
Okay. So that's why you wrote here only Pakistani immigrant characters.
Yes.
Mbak Nadia, I have a question for you, and actually it is the continuation of the question given by Pak Edi just now, especially related to the number of the characters that you analyze in this research or in your thesis. Actually, how many characters are there that become what the object of your analysis?
Yes. The first one is the main character, Shahid, and his father, his mother, his brother, and some of his companion is Chad, and then Tahira, and also the man from the Pakistani family. So there are 7 characters.
So for about 7 characters. And from these 7 characters, actually who is the most dominant characters?
Shahid.
Shahid.
Yes.
Who is he?
Shahid is the boy that born in the British society, but he comes from immigrants family, and he already get racial treatment since he was kids, and also he the one who get a dilemma and have the hybrid identities when he was in the university.
Right, and then related to the racial discrimination that the main characters has already got, has he got all of types of racial discriminations? And then can you give some example where this discrimination happened?
I think there are 3 types, and in these 3 types there are several forms, but the main characters experience these 3
Especially
types.
Shahid.
Yeah, the Shahid experience these 3 types, but not all of the form.
So what discrimination that he has already experienced?
The sorry, sir. The first one is intentional discrimination, which experienced by Shahid is the verbal antagonism that he got when he was at school, and also when he guarded the Pakistanis family flat, also the physical attacks, and then the subtle discrimination, he gets the indirect discrimination.
Right.
And the last is statistical discrimination, is experienced by Chad, I think, and Shahid when I forgot the event.
All right. And how about for verbal? Say
antagonism.
verbal. It is a kind of utterances that he has already got, and it is classified as racial discrimination. What kind of say wordings or sayings or utterances that he has already got, so that it's classified as racial discrimination?
It mentioned in the novel that his classmates read the writing that done by Shahid, and they give the comments to him, just like Paki. I think I cannot mention it, sir.
Yeah. Okay. In other words,
and go back to your home, and Paki out. And the teacher is just left the room, and just it kind of familiar conditions that happen.
So this kind of very, very rough words to be stated.
Yeah.
So that's classified as verbal racial discrimination.
Yeah, because I think the kids at that age, I think that was not inconvenient words.
So what happened with Shahid getting that kind of verbal racial discrimination?
He just quiet and and do nothing. I think, and he just get worse because he just still quiet and do not do anything, and he got slashed by the knife in his back in the next moment when the classmates doing the action to him.
All right, thank you very much. I think that's all from Pak Sams for the question. And for the next, we would like to hear probably some suggestion from your advisor to Bapak Miftah. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Syamsudin. Mbak Nadia, verbally, one word may be associated to a particular image, like when people say "duro duro" to call for Madris people, "Hey duro" in I don't know what comes to people's mind when people say Duro. Now, what I'm going to ask is, what comes to Sahid's friend's mind or the society's mind about the image of Paki or Pakistani? Paki is the short term for Pakistani, right?
Yeah.
Like when people say, "Hey, Duro, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?" But what happens when people say, "Hey, Paki"? What comes to public's image?
The code Paki is associated to the verbal antagonism because British society thinks that the Pakistani is a Commonwealth country from Britain, and it makes him feel superior from the Pakistani people. And also the Pakistani people want to make the equal position and become accepted by the British society. They want to becoming the writer or professional businessman, some things like that, and it comes to the mind of British people that would not suit to them because they come from the traditional country that not well educated.
Maybe she can repeat short answer yang to the point.
Gitu ya, Pak.
Ya mungkin ada jawaban singkat yang lebih singkat yang to the point.